The Rohingyas are a Muslim minority in a majority Buddhist state. Although they've lived in the country for centuries, a citizenship law has rendered them stateless. This has given license to the Burmese army to carry out the worst kind of atrocities on them. The UN has called the situation in Burma a textbook example of ethnic cleansing and one of the worst humanitarian crises on the planet. While all this is terrifying, the focus of our video is on India. The Indian government estimates that 40,000 Rohingyas have entered India illegally, and they plan on deporting all of them back. India hasn't been this tough on refugees before. In the 1960s, India allowed nearly 3,000 Chakma tribe families from the northeast to enter India, settle down in Arunachal Pradesh, and eventually gain citizenship. In the 1980s, after the Soviet-Afghan war, the government allowed the 60,000 Afghan asylum seekers in India to obtain long-term visas. And over the course of the last few decades, over 100,000 refugees of the Sri Lankan Civil War have settled peacefully in Tamil Nadu, while Tibetan refugees in India have even been provided special identity certificates. And yet, for the government of India, the Rohingyas, despite being universally deemed as one of the most persecuted communities in the history of the world, are not worth bringing into the fold. Why this discrimination? Many are convinced that the current pro-Hindu government doesn't particularly sympathize with the Rohingyas as they are Muslim. The BJP has maintained that the Rohingyas are vulnerable targets for terrorist groups to recruit, making them a serious security threat to India. Like the NDA government, each successive government in India has been free to respond to refugees on a case-by-case basis, simply because there's been no law that deals specifically with asylum seekers. We can identify who is a citizen and who is a foreigner. But because India is not a signatory of either of the two international laws that outlines the status of refugees, we don't know how to officially identify them. And because we're not a signatory of these refugee protocols, it's also legally okay for us to send Rohingyas back to Myanmar, essentially to their death. Considering India is the caretaker of the South Asian neighborhood and always has been, shouldn't there be some uniformity in dealing with refugees? Aren't we violating human rights by sending Rohingya Muslims back to Myanmar? Let us know in the comments below.